Welcome back, all my beautiful YouTube family. Today we have Tom Homan on the Tucker Carlson show talking about the plans to destroy the cartel, end child trafficking, and secure the border for good. A lot of people like these Tucker Carlson interviews that I always react to because he spits a lot of good knowledge, guys. He talks a lot of knowledge. You know, he's very up to date with the conservative movements and stuff in America. Of course, America is kind of its own sort of, melting pot of industries and things like that. So we're going to see exactly what they're talking about when they talk about this sort of things, guys. So 1 hour long. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's go, man.
So you were pretty much the first person Trump chose after he got elected. I think it was the end of that week, right?
Yeah, I believe I was.
Can you summarize in one sentence what you plan to do with the job?
Well, look, we had a discussion that night, and he gave me three rails, so three things he wants me to do. Number one is secure the border.
Yeah.
Shut the border down. Number two, run the biggest deportation operation this country's ever seen. And third, he wants me to lead an effort to find the over 300,000 missing children.
Whoa, that's a lot.
That were trafficked into this country, and this administration cannot locate them.
That sounds like a big job, guys. My God. The biggest news presenter in the world, in America anyways, but I'm sure he's probably the biggest in the world right now. Tucker Carlson, great show. Let's get into it, guys.
So, seal the border, deport the illegals, find the missing children, right. 300,000.
Yes.
Let's go in order. Seal the border. What has happened? Do you have a sense now, over a month after Trump's victory, of just how big the invasion was under Biden?
Someone said it was 10 million, I think, illegal people, which, I mean, of course, guys, if it's illegal, you can go anywhere illegally, in my opinion. But as soon as you break the law, this is when issues start to happen, guys, and issues start to arise.
We know.
Well, we know that we can document over 10 million accounts, 10.5 that we can document. Then we can document over 2 million gotaways, right? These are known gotaways.
2 million people that haven't been accounted for.
What is a known getaway? These are people we capture an image on drone video.
Is that in addition to the 10?
Yeah. So
at least 12 million people
have been encountered at our border. 10.5 been encountered. Over
Yikes.
we know they're a getaway because we capture on drone traffic, video traffic, or sensor traffic. And Border Patrol's over one that couldn't respond. So we know there's at least 12.5 million people at that border.
Damn.
So that's like New York plus Chicago.
Oh my God.
That's a historic number, which is one of the reasons why I wake up pissed off every day, because we went for the most secure border in my lifetime. I started in 1984 as Border Patrol agent, worked for 6 presidents.
Where did you start, by the way?
I was Border Patrol agent in Campo, California, San Diego sector.
Yeah.
But to go for the most secure border of my lifetime under President Trump, based on data, right? That's just my opinion. That's data. Go for the most secure border of my lifetime to historic illegal immigration in one administration. That's by design. That's not mismanagement.
Yeah.
That's by design.
Ooh, that's a big statement. That's by design, guys.
What do you think the goal was?
I asked that a lot of you, why would anybody open the border up? I think Joe Biden's the first president in American history who came in office and unsecured the border. I worked for 6 presidents. Obama and Clinton took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have. There's no way you can have strong national security if you don't have border security. You need to know what's coming in, who's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. Joe Biden's first president came in office and unsecured the border, and people ask me all the time why. I think they see a future political benefit. I think they think these people will be future Democratic voters. Number one, two, but we don't even have to get there, right, Tucker? I mean, when Biden signed over 9 executive orders, getting rid of everything we did, he also overturned the Trump census rule, where millions of illegal aliens be counted in all these sanctuary cities, which is going to result in more seats in the House for the Dems and the reproportionate seats in the House.
Yeah, people think that when they bring the people in, they're going to vote for them. That's kind of like the main issue right there.
Can that be undone?
Oh, yeah. I think President Trump needs to get, when he gets back in, he needs to establish the other census rule. Illegal aliens should not be counted in the census.
Well, yeah, because illegal foreign citizens, non-Americans, should not be able to determine how many members of Congress you have and where they sit.
Exactly.
Right.
I think President Trump will reinstitute the game-changing policy.
Yeah, I think that Trump is going to introduce a lot of game-changing stuff. It's going to be massive. 2025 is going to be insane. I think 2025 is going to be the year that, like, the shit hits the fan, like, you know, metaphorically, but
He had
probably literally as well.
during the first administration, so we can secure the border. We did it before. This time we're going to finish the job.
How many came through Canada? Do you know?
Oh, here we go. Canada. Shout out to Canada. We love Canada. We love
I don't have it
Canada.
off the top of my head, but I know the number, depending on what sector you look at, is 600 to 800% increase on the northern border.
Whoa. I crossed over the border in Canada this summer, back in like May, just to go to some small little town, Ogdensburg, just to go to Taco Bell and to go to Walmart and a few different places, okay? And the border security was chill. Like, why are you coming to America? I said, I just want to get Twinkies and get like fun foods and shit like that. I just love, you know, America, the whole American thing. And they're like, oh yeah, amazing, sweet. They said, come on inside, but they were kind of annoying. They made me like sign all this different stuff, but they were super friendly. They were super nice. Like, everything was great, guys. Border was amazing. I thought the border was amazing. You know, they said what, and then I went back home. The Canadians were like, what did you get? What did you get in America? I said, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's. You know, he said, do you not have McDonald's in Ireland? I said, I have McDonald's in Ireland, but we don't have Dunkin' Donuts. You know, so it is a secure border, the north, but obviously some parts are not secure at all, guys. You know, some parts would be crazy unsecure, in fact.
Specifically in upstate New York, where I grew up. And I still,
Upstate New York, that's where I crossed over into Ogdensburg from Canada. I crossed over from Brookville to Syracuse. Well, to Syracuse the first year, and then to Ogdensburg.
I have a home up there, so I'm very familiar with that area, and I talk to Border Patrol chiefs up there all the time. Northern New York, it has a huge problem, and the problem with northern border, a lot of SIAs come through the northern border. They can afford to fly to Canada and cross the northern border, which is wide open because there's a lot of border and very few agents. So a lot of Indians,
There was like 3 agents, and it was super quiet. Like the border, there was like, that's why they told me to come inside. They just wanted to have a chat with me. They're like, we've never had an Irish guy ever at this border. Like, it was such a rare border to cross over from anyways. And then to have some guy from Ireland, they were like, no, we've never even had like Irish people cross over here. So they were wondering like what the hell we were doing. But it was amazing, guys. It was great. Like, talking to people at the border was amazing.
Pakistani, a lot of Turkish come through.
Pakistani and Turkish. When I was flying home from Slovakia, there was a lot of Turkish. There was the most Turkish people I've ever seen in my life flying home from Košice, Slovakia to Ireland. Like, the most people. It was unbelievable. Turkish people must love flipping Ireland, apparently. I don't know why Turkish people love Slovakia. I mean, love Ireland. Irish people love Turkey as well. They get their hair done in Turkey. They get their teeth done in Turkey. They get their flipping breast implants done in Turkey.
I mean, who organized this? You say it was by design. There are a lot of NGOs involved. The United Nations is involved. A bunch of religious charities, pretty evil religious charities, in my opinion, involved in this. But they seem to be coordinating with one another. What do we understand exactly what happened?
You know, we're still looking into it. I think under the Trump administration, it needs to be an investigation on what happened, who was involved. I know I've had numerous conversations with Mark Green, who's the chairman of Homeland Oversight. He plans on having some oversight hearings on this, specifically when it relates to the NGOs. You know, I think they were complicit in a lot of this illegal immigration. And certainly the United Nations were south of our border working on this global illegal immigration to the United States. So I'm counting on the new Congress, which we now have control of both the House and the Senate, to conduct oversight hearings and hold people accountable. There's no way this is mismanagement or incompetence. This is by design.
That's crazy to say that, guys. That's by design. He said they brought people in by design.
And do I think Joe Biden had the expertise to do it? No, I think someone's pulling his strings. So this is something that needs to be fully investigated. People need to be held accountable because
they need to go to wreck the country.
huge.
They need to go to prison.
they
That's
created the biggest national security vulnerability this nation's ever seen. We got a record number of people on terrorist watch lists being arrested. We got 2.2 million people, and this is my biggest issue I brought up for the last 2 years. It's just not about illegal immigration anymore. When you cause a crisis this big that overwhelms the Border Patrol, where many times 70% of agents were pulled off the line dealing with this humanitarian crisis, right? Changing diapers, making baby formula, making hospital runs, doing that humanitarian mission, leaving 30% of our Homeland Security officials left securing the border. There was times in the last 2 years where 100% of border police were pulled off the line, such as in El Paso, because when they got overcrowded, this administration said, wait, we can't have overcrowding. That's a bad optic. So let's pull every agent off the line, process as quick as possible, release as quick as possible, because if there's no overcrowding, there's nothing to see here. The border's still secure. So when you overrun the border patrol, that's when all the bad things happen. That's when we got 2.2 million gotaways, right? That's when the fentanyl comes across to kill 250,000 Americans.
Yeah, the fentanyl is a huge problem. They import fentanyl from China, and guys, it's crazy, man. They're bringing in all this fentanyl, all these drug problems are killing Americans. I mean, it's crazy, guys. I don't want to see any Americans die. That's insane shit. And, nowadays it's like, oh, terrorist watch list, terrorist, oh, come on in. Like what kind of nonsense is that, guys? That's crazy. They know prior to bringing people in what they have. You know what I mean? What if you burn your passport, if you do any illegal activity before you come to a country, you are a criminal. I mean, what kind of nonsense is this, guys? This is just plain and simple. You are a criminal, bro. Stop breaking the law, you asshole.
That's why sex trafficking of women and children is up 600%.
Yeah.
That's why the number of migrant deaths is at a historic high. So this, what people call this innocent illegal immigration crisis, made a lot of bad things happen because the Border Patrol was strictly overwhelmed and couldn't do their national security.
Well, it changed the culture of the United States, which is worse than any of the things and more permanent than any of the things you listed. You can't run in and change people's ancient culture. I've been here for 250 years. You can't do that. No, it's the worst crime ever committed against the U.S., worse than the Civil War, in my opinion.
Americans are big on that stuff, guys. They're big on their border. They're nationalistic. They're patriotic. They don't want to see this shit, get run over with illegal shit. They don't want to see that, guys. They don't want to see their country, one of the best countries in the world, they would call it the best, being overrun by shit,
So, but the question is, who did this and why? So the United Nations, we pay the largest share of the UN budget.
Yeah.
We should have some ability to control what the...
So if I'm...
Sorry, guys. Go back a little bit there.
Till President Trump got in office and had him who committed the crime, and so...
The incoming
and not only responsible for moving narcotics in this country, they're currently in every major city in the United States, because not only are they smuggling the drugs in the United States, they're taking over the distribution within the United States, right? So I've talked to numerous representatives on the Hill that swear they're going to have hearings. That's when we got 2.2 million guys.
Change people's ancient culture. I've been here for 250 years. You can't do that.
My bad, guys.
No, it's the worst crime ever committed against the U.S., worse than the Civil War, in my opinion.
Worse than the Civil War.
But the question is, who did this and why? So the United Nations, we pay the largest share of the UN budget. We should have some ability to control what the UN does, but they commit this act of war against us. Do we know who did at the UN and why?
I do not, but it's something that's going to be, I believe it should be investigated. I'm pushing people I'm coming to the administration with that we need to investigate it. Again, I've talked to numerous representatives on the Hill that swear they're going to have hearings on this. And we need to. American people need to know exactly what happened, who is responsible.
Do you think that the fentanyl traffickers, known as the cartels, I guess, I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'd like to ask you, actually, but you keep reading and hearing that they have control of parts of the southwestern United States. First of all, what is a cartel? Who are they? Where are they from? And do you think that's true?
Well, the criminal cartels in Mexico, they are born out of the narcotics smuggling industry in Mexico, and they're powerful. Look, they're like a Fortune 500 company.
Yes.
They're just not a gang anymore, right? Yeah, Jalisco cartels they're in over 45 countries of the world, right? And not only are they responsible for moving narcotics in this country, they're currently in every major city in the United States, because not only are they smuggling the drugs in the United States, they're taking over the distribution within the United States, right? Jesus. So again, and I said this at the RNC, and President
that is insane, lads. If you guys understand what the hell he's saying here, this is insane
Trump
shit.
Agrees with me. These criminal cartels have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. right?
In every war, more than the Second World War.
So that's why they need to be designated terrorist organizations and wiped off the face of the earth. And it's going to take the United States to do it. Mexico has failed to do it.
Yeah, Mexico's failed. Dude, why? I said this before. Why doesn't America just get the Special Forces, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6? We're talking about animals, dude. These guys can kill anyone. Why don't they just go in and kill all the cartels? Which hopefully they do. Hopefully it's like a full-on war between the cartels and like the Marines or something. Bro, everyone's all tough and shit till the Marines show up. Come on, baby.
Even if they try to do it. Bottom line is much of the Mexican military, much of the Mexican law enforcement, much of the Mexican government's corrupt. That's just...
Dude, the Mexican law enforcement are the cartels. People don't understand. During the day, they wear the police uniform, and at nighttime, they wear the fucking cartel uniform. That's literally, they are the cartel.
It's a fact.
Well, then why? Okay, so I noticed that the incoming administration just basically toppled the Prime Minister of Canada, who's a thoroughly evil person called Justin Trudeau, and just by threatening tariffs. They kind of fixed the Canada problem. Trump fixed it in about, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But how much more leverage do we have over Mexico? I mean, we're the entire economy of Mexico. Why don't we do that with Mexico?
Well, we are. President Trump has threatened tariffs, and the president seems to say she's going to help. We'll see if her actions match her words. But President Trump has a lot of power over Mexico. Look, the tariffs alone, Mexico needs us more than we need them, right? And look, I'm not saying every cop, every soldier, every politician in Mexico is corrupt, but many are. That's just a fact. When I was ICE director, we had vetted units we worked with. Law enforcement down there, we vetted them so we can work with them. But we didn't even tell the vetted units everything we know because we just couldn't be sure, right?
Oh, my God.
But President Trump has a lot of leverage. Remember, when I became board vigilante in 1984, one of my first assignments out of the academy was protecting a port of entry in Tecate, California, because we had a DEA agent that was tortured and murdered, Kiki Camarena. I think you remember.
I remember very well.
And they wouldn't help us to identify and turn over the people responsible. Ronald Reagan shut down the port of entries. And what, it take them 2 days? All of a sudden, we know who committed the crime. And so President Trump can obviously do that. He can end all the visas, end the tourist visas, the business visas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power he has over Mexico, and he needs... President Trump's willing to do whatever it takes to protect our sovereignty and protect this country, and he's ready to do it. He proved the first...
That's great to hear, guys. You know, a president that's actually willing to do whatever it takes to protect the people. You know, I wish we had somebody like that in Ireland. You know, I wish we had someone that would do whatever it takes to protect the people, and have a I mean, talking about socially, the economy is great and stuff like that. Of course, in Ireland, for most people, for some people, but yeah, socially, guys, it's really different.
First time, when Remain in Mexico program. Mexico didn't want to do that. 30 safe country agreements. Mexico didn't want to do that. They didn't want to put 10,000 military on their border. But President Trump threatened them with tariffs, and they came to the table.
Yeah, I bet they did quick.
So many nice Mexican people. I mean, most Mexican people I've met, I really like. That we forget that the government's very anti-American, is not our ally in any sense. We spend all this energy being mad at Assad, who cares? And we live next to this country that's helping to kill hundreds of thousands of Americans every year. No one ever says anything about it. Don't you think it would be worth shifting some of that emotional energy and military resources to countries right next to us who are hurting us?
I'm 100% with you, and that's why I've been pushing to Mexico to come to the table and be accountable. It's against the law in Mexico to traffic in women and children.
Yeah.
But they don't do anything about it. It's against the law in Mexico to transit to that country if you're from another country without a transit visa, but they allow it. I mean, look at the beach, the big train that thousands of people came up every weekend. They didn't do anything until President Trump got in office and had him put a stop to it. I mean, but the good thing is a lot of countries are willing to come to the table right now. Mexico says they're going to. Let's see what they do. I'll be deeply involved in those conversations. Panama wants to come to the table and help the United States secure our border by shutting down the Darien Gap. This administration said they're going to do it. Secretary Mayorkas said he was going to do it. Panama never got any funding to do it. They never got anything done with this administration. They were coming to the table again. We will shut down the Darien Gap, but please help us. We will help them. Shutting the Darien Gap down would be a huge game changer on illegal migration to this country.
Right.
But again, given the economic leverage the United States has, that shouldn't take more than a weekend, right?
It's going to be pretty quick. I mean, we're going to come to the table what we need Mexico to do. Remain in Mexico program, a game changer. That needs to happen quickly. That was a game changer. Because after about 2 months, they stopped coming. They stopped coming because they knew they weren't being released into the United States to not show up in court. And even if they show up in court, no one's looking to remove them because on this administration, ICE can't arrest somebody for simply being illegally in the United States. Secretary Mayorkas has made that clear. They got to have a criminal conviction before ICE can even look at them, even though they're illegally here. So they remain in Mexico as a game changer. They stopped coming. They stopped selling everything they had, giving the cartels every dollar they had to come to the United States to be released. When the Remain in Mexico program came into place, they stopped coming. When they stopped coming, look at the lives that were saved. Look at the money that was saved. If someone's really escaping fear and persecution from their homeland, from their government, home government, if they're really escaping fear and persecution, they're going to be willing to wait in Mexico for the hearing. But most of them no.
But why would the U.S. take anybody why is it our job, given our appalling track record around the world of like trying to make things better, you make them worse because the world's super complicated. Why do we have an obligation to take anybody from anywhere ever? I don't.
Well, this is the whole talking point kind of around the world, guys. Why are you obligated to take anyone at any time? War-torn countries, stuff like that. Brain drain. People leaving Ireland for like a better hope. Basically, the whole of Ireland is now in Australia. Okay, America does not too many Irish people go anymore. It's like everybody's in Australia. So Ireland has kind of turned into this place of like, not totally, but it's like the people that are working in most industries are like going to be like, Indian or whatever, that kind of stuff, right? That's what I see in Dublin for sure, guys, because everyone's just left here, which, you know what I mean? It's just like comical at this stage.
Don't really get, where does that come from?
Well, that was the genius of the Remain in Mexico program, right? Because President Trump, I remember sitting in the Oval Office one day, we're talking about this, and I was trying to explain to him, and he understood clearly what the whole situation on asylum is. I told him that if you look at the data, immigration court data, about 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at our border never get relief from the U.S. government because they simply don't qualify or they don't show up in court. Then you look at the Homeland Security Life Cycle Report, a report that's put up by Homeland Security. For instance, family units. For those that were ordered removed, only 6% leave. So when I explained to President Trump, 9 out of 10 don't even have a valid claim, but when that 9 out of 10 gets ordered removed, 6% leave. He says, he didn't take him long to say, why the hell are we doing this?
Yeah.
So let's not let him in. Let's have a Remain in Mexico program. If you're really escaping fear and persecution, you wait in Mexico. If you win your case, which are very few, welcome to the United States. But if you don't win your case, we don't have to go find you. And we're not putting this message out of catch and release so people keep coming knowing they're going to be released in the United States. At the same time, knowing when they lose their case, no one's looking to remove them. That whole dynamic's going to change.
Yes.
Right? Because I've been real clear since the day President Trump appointed me. If you're in the country illegally, you got a problem, right? If we don't take the judge's order, immigration court, when you order you removed, he gets a deportation officer, deportation order. If we don't execute those orders, then what the hell are we doing? Shut down the immigration court. Don't mean anything anymore. Take the border off the border because there's no consequences for entering this country illegally. Right. We'll give you due process, but when you're ordered removed, you're going to be removed. Or if we don't, we send a message to the whole world. You can enter the country illegally, which is a crime. You can see a judge or not see a judge, get an order removal. No one's looking for you. And that's what the Democrats are doing in this administration. They have
That's the exact same as the Irish. For those who don't know, the Irish system, if you get told you deported because you're illegally here or you commit a crime here, you're told to self-deport. What the fuck does that even mean? What does self-deport mean? I'm going to take myself out of a good situation? Like, that's not going to happen. The authority, like the police, the guards, we call them the Gardaí here in Ireland, the Gardaí have to go and find you and put you on a plane and bring, put you back, if you're illegally doing something. Like if you murder somebody, guys, a lot of times here we put them in jail, but if you do some crazy sexual assault, something, we deport you, okay? It's like the law type of process system here. That's just how it is, right? But it's a crazy setup, man. Because what's the point if they're not even going to enforce the flipping law? It's like self-deport. What the hell does that even mean?
On the system, release the millions of this country. Immigration, the court dock is pushed back 7, maybe as much as 9 years, like in New York. By that time, when they get order removal, they got 2 or 3 USC kids, right? Then everybody's complaining, you can't remove that guy. He's got 3 USC kids. When I was ICE director, I got calls from Republican senators. Why'd you remove that person? He has 2 USC children. Well, he didn't have 2 USC children enter country legally. He didn't have 2 USC children.
You calls from Republican senators?
Oh, absolutely.
They're the worst.
And I said, well, what's my option? He had due process at great taxpayer expense. He was already removed by a federal judge. The option is just let him stay, because if we're going to do that, how many?
Right. This is really complex stuff, guys. I mean, it's not really complex, but it's quite nuanced, right? Because, like, you don't want to seem like you're trying to, like, tell people to leave and shit. That's obviously not the case. But if there's some sort of illegal shit going on, like, yeah, what the hell do you do? This is a very cool insight, very cool interview.
The more you want to stay. Then we got to send a clear message. We're in national laws. You get ordered removed, you're going to be removed. If not, we send a message to the whole world. Enter illegally, commit a crime, go have a U.S. citizen child, and you're off the hook.
As an American, you ought to expect and demand.
It's pretty wild, guys. All right.
Selves in the country. I mean it. Of VPN.com/Tucker.
ExpressVPN.
Is there any way to move millions of Haitians into rich white liberal neighborhoods? I mean it. The people who did this are rich white liberals in the United States who hate themselves and the country, and to punish it, they invited all these people illegally from failed countries, but they can't stand the idea of living near these people because they're racist. So why wouldn't you move every Haitian to Bethesda and Brookline and Aspen and Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket like today? Can we do that? I will donate money if we can do that.
We absolutely could. Look what the Martha's Vineyards did. They put them on there, kind of like, this whole
They called
thing.
the cops immediately because they're racist.
Governor Abbott done more to secure this border than anybody in this administration. Guy's great. DeSantis the same. Do you know who first came up with the idea of busing people to sanctuary cities? It was President Trump. I remember sitting in the Oval Office one time, and he said, why don't we do that? So we started putting plans together, but the Remain in Mexico program was such a game changer, we couldn't fill a bus up if we wanted to. So we beat the problem before we actually got to that. That was really
the problem, though, is that the people doing it didn't have a precise enough understanding of rich white liberal culture, but I do. So they would bus them to New York, then they wind up in Midtown and Queens. Okay, none of the people who are doing this were affected by it. But I could give you a list of zip codes where, like, Tony Blinken lives and stuff like that, because I know that world. They need to be moved into the neighborhoods of the people who are calling you racist for wanting to have laws and borders. Like, they need to feel the effects of their own destruction.
It's an interesting question. It's like, do people not feel the effects of, like, let's say, some sort of illegal activity? If you're rich and wealthy and well off, which, very few people are, or I mean, some people are, then you're not gonna experience basically anything that people, from a, lower class are gonna experience. Violence or anything like that.
So just text me and I will send you the zip codes. I mean it too. Because what happened is they opened the borders and then all these people like moved to Jackson, Wyoming, to the least diverse zip codes in the country. They literally ran to the hills to get away from diversity.
I think we need to add to that, though, the senators and congressmen are pushing back on border security.
100%.
Moving illegal aliens right outside of the Vice President Kamala Harris's residence. That was a game changer too. So I think not only those who are well financed, how about the politicians who are pushing back against any form of enforcement of our border laws?
Well, that's why Bernie Sanders needs a ton of Haitians in Vermont, because it's blindingly white.
Vermont is very white.
Needs to change. I couldn't agree more.
He's obviously being sarcastic there, right? Vermont was nice. So we drove past. I think I kind of want to go to Vermont.
So, but just back to the cartel question, I don't know that much about it, but I keep hearing, I think, informed people say, man, parts of New Mexico, Arizona, California, even Florida, Texas, there's real control by these cartels in the way that they control Mexico. I mean, they're basically a state within a state with their own army and armored personnel carriers and tanks and
Yeah,
do you think that's real? Do you think they have that kind of beachhead here?
Oh, absolutely. As I said earlier, they're like a Fortune 500 company. They're well financed. They're diversified.
Dude, it's literally their finances huge.
in their funding. And look, I've seen a lot of intelligence report. They have access to military-grade weapons. They'll take the Mexican military on, the Mexican law enforcement. They do all the time.
Yeah, they take on the Mexican military, guys. I remember, like, those cartel attacks. They'd kill all the Mexican military. It was just insane. It was insane.
And it's just not my opinion. They have control, operational control of our southwest border. And I've talked to chief patrol agents who agree with me. They've lost operational control on the southwest border. One chief patrol agent used the term broken arrow. I was on the phone one time. He goes, Tom, I can't contain what's coming across. I'm lucky I'm catching 10% of it. The criminal cartels, knowing this administration calls this, huge humanitarian crisis and overwhelmed the border patrols we discussed earlier. And whatever assets is left on the border, left to patrol, the criminal cartels, you think 100 family units or 200 family units show up accidentally at the same place at a certain time? No, the cartels control that.
Right.
They'll send a group to one area, knowing whatever left on the border was seized to that humanitarian crisis, right? They have to go deal with that. They create gaps in the system. That's when they move the fentanyl that's killed 250,000 Americans. That's why sex trafficking is up 600%. The cartels, they create gaps in our system, and that's where they operate. And for the Democratic representatives up on the Hill saying, well, most fentanyl comes to the port of entry, that's just a bunch of garbage. Most fentanyl is seized at a port of entry because every vehicle stopped, and based on the CBP targeting system, which is law enforcement sensitive, and based on the responses to the questions, chances are they'll get secondary and they'll find some things. Between the port of entry, we're maybe touching 10%.
Yeah.
So if I'm a criminal cartel, I'm going to use a route of least resistance. I know my vehicle is going to be stopped at port of entry. Will it be secondary or not? I don't know. But between the port of entry, with 70% of the agents off the line, that's where I'm going to move my product. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Just right over the open border, you mean?
Absolutely.
So I know I'm jumping around, but I have too many questions for you. I read in the last 3 days, it's hard to believe this could be true, that the Biden administration auctioned off portions of the unfinished border wall at bargain basement prices. Is that true?
Yes. I actually had a conversation with Senator Lindsey Graham 2 days ago. Someone needs to take some action, because this is products that the taxpayers already paid for, and they're going to auction it off. And now, Texas talked about buying it back. Shouldn't have to buy it back. We bought it once before, right? This administration's out. They're out in a couple more weeks. Why would they continue to set us up for failure? That's what they're trying to do, right? President Biden signing all these executive orders and want to sell the border product. I thought the American people on election day give this country a clear mandate. They want a secure border. But
Yeah, that's true. Like, once you get elected a new government, the government should come into power, and it should be straight away their new rules. But apparently you have to wait a long time as well after, so...
This administration is going to stop at, they won't stop at anything to slow us down. It's not going to slow us down. We're going to get that border wall finished, but the mere stupidity of some of the stuff on pennies on a dollar, every taxpayer should be.
What's an act of hate toward the country? Of course.
Well, they obviously, I've said it many times, they hate Trump more than they love their country.
For sure. And I think they hate the country more than they hate Trump even. He represents the country to them, the old country that they tried to change with immigration. Do you know Mayorkas?
I know him.
How would you assess him?
I used to respect him. Under President Obama, I got a Presidential Rank Award under President Obama because I oversaw the removal of, well over 1 million aliens during that 3-year period. Mayorkas actually accompanied me on operations in New York City, targeting criminal aliens and illegal aliens, both.
That's crazy.
Jay Johnson approved a family operation because a lot of families were coming across during the Obama administration. And I told Jay Johnson, look, 9 out of 10 of these families are going to be ordered removed. Are we going to remove them? He said, absolutely. Jay Johnson stood by that. Alejandro Mayorkas went on operation with us. He backed me up on it a lot. The main thing we disagreed on is the transgender policy, where you wanted special treatment for transgenders in ICE detention. I was ordered to sign that policy, and that's
what kind of special treatment? Making
sure they're identified as being a transgender, they're protected in our facilities, and separated and get.
Is that the most important thing?
Medical attention, whether it's hormone therapy or whatever.
Hormone therapy while in detention. Jeez Louise.
Wait, so he wanted the U.S. government to pay for hormone therapy?
Yeah. And we got a huge argument over that, and I was ordered to sign the memo, and that's where we had a falling out.
Yeah.
But
do you have any, why would he want, I mean, first of all, how many transsexual illegal aliens are there?
Yeah. Oh, lads, I think I found the #1 quote of the year right there. That is the funniest quote I've ever heard of in my entire life. How many transsexual illegal aliens are crossing over the United States border? Oh,
that, and I was ordered to sign the memo, and that's where we had a falling out. But
do you have any, why would he want, I mean, first of all, how many transsexual illegal aliens are there?
You'd be surprised how many we run across.
What?
And they just, they wanted certain protections for them in our facilities.
Bro, what?
Well, Alejandro Mayorkas went on operation with me. He shook hands with officers who were enforcing the immigration law. I remember we went to New York City on a huge operation, arrested a lot of illegal aliens. And when he was nominated to be secretary, I thought, okay, we're in the middle of this crisis again, right? He knows how we stopped it. We stopped it by building detention facilities, including family residential centers, the so-called cages, right? He knew how we stopped it. We stopped by building more detention facilities, detaining people, making them have a hearing, because if you're in detention, you have a hearing within like 35 days.
Right.
9 out of 10 lost. We put them in an airplane, sent them home, then board numbers tanked. So I'm thinking, okay, he knows how to fix it. He might be able to do this job. He got into the job. He did a complete 180. I don't recognize him anymore. He's about not enforcing the law. One of his first instructions to ICE is that being in the country illegally on its own is not enough for you to go make an arrest.
What?
You got to wait till they're convicted of a serious criminal violation.
How can a federal administrator ignore federal law? Isn't that unconstitutional? Why can't he be arrested for that?
Well, it's illegal. I mean, the Fifth Circuit federal judge in the Fifth Circuit said not only are they ignoring the law, they're actually violating the law. Again, that's when we need to hold these people accountable in the incoming administration.
Oh, lads.
I believe they violated the law. And
the fact that Congress never did anything about that is really telling.
Well, that's, they went through the impeachment proceedings, and I said at the time that I think we had 5 or 6 Republican congressmen that didn't vote for impeachment. I couldn't believe it. And I thought they lost the right to be a congressman at that point. I mean, if they can impeach President Trump for making a phone call, you can't impeach Alejandro Mayorkas for what he did to this border, the biggest national security vulnerability this nation's ever seen. Look, me and Christopher Wray, I'm not a friend of his. I don't really respect the man much, but he agrees with me that the border has become the biggest vulnerability this nation's ever seen. He sees more red flags than ever before, and they continue with the open border, even to this day after the election. Now they're going to sell border wall material that we're going to need in day one we're getting in there. The illegal behavior, the treasonous behavior from this administration has not stopped.
What do you think happened? It's so interesting. I'm glad I asked you if you knew him. I didn't know that you did. But since you do, what do you think happened to Mayorkas?
I'm, as an agent since 1984, I think we study people. That's what we do. Either he fooled me under the Obama administration that he actually believed in enforcement. Either I was hoodwinked and just thought he wasn't behind enforcement, or he always felt that way, and he played the role under the Obama administration. Then when he came back, he actually did what he always truly believed in: open borders. I know the NGOs, and he has a very close relationship. He worked for some NGOs before he came back. So I don't know what happened. All I know is a man who I once respected, I have zero respect to now because of what he's did. Now,
when he went to work for the NGOs, this Mayorkas guy obviously got infected by the woke mind virus.
not because of incompetence. This is by design. They knew exactly what they were doing because he'd been there before.
Facts.
He knows how we shut it down. He knows how we secure the border at a high level. Not as high as Trump. We secure the border at a pretty good level. He did everything he could to unsecure the border.
Damn.
Which is a complete 180.
That's wild.
It's fascinating. There's something, you watch when he talks, there's something strange, well, first of all, he's lying.
He's lying under oath, which is a felony, too. If I lie under oath, you don't think they would love to prosecute me for lying under oath.
And they should. You shouldn't be allowed to do that.
He's lied many times. One of the biggest statements he made was, for those who don't immediately qualify for asylum, they'll be immediately removed. Really? You got the lowest numbers of removals in the history of ICE. At the same time, you have historic illegal immigration. So, you're supposed to have a hearing a couple weeks ago, and I asked a couple of congressmen to ask that question again. Well, there's a lot of anti-Trump, anti-Homan rhetoric out there that we shouldn't have a mass deportation operation. Do you stand by the statements you made numerous times that if they don't qualify, they need to be removed? Because you can also help send a message to the American people. We're doing this deportation operation. It has to be done, and you said it. Would you say it again? Of course, him and Ray backed out the hearing, never had the hearing. But for the American people who don't... Here's my biggest issue. I read it every day. Racist, inhumane to have a mass deportation operation. We just went through 4 years of historic illegal immigration. Again, we're 9 out of 10 get order removal. We don't have a choice. That's the way the law's set up. They lose
Why
their
is
case,
that
they're going home.
racist? I mean, we just ended African American political power, by the way, because of the demographic changes. Just basically made it, both parties have paid, especially Democratic Party, a lot of attention to what black voters want because they're a huge part of the Democratic coalition. And now that's not true. And so it's not, this is a complicated question. Anyone who says, it's just white racism is, what is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
I'll tell you exactly what they think. I was up in Chicago last week. I met with hundreds. I met with black pastors. Black pastors are upset.
Well, they should be upset.
Yeah, they feel like...
I thought like all black people in America now voted for Trump. That's what I thought. Like the whole thing has shifted, guys. Where like Trump used to be this kind of nutcase guy back in 2016, and maybe he was. Now it's like completely swung the other way, where like everyone loves Trump. 50 Cent is talking about Trump. All the rappers, everyone is now supporting Trump. I haven't seen one video on YouTube where anyone of any race is supporting Kamala. It only seems to be celebrities that are supporting Kamala Harris. And all the regular people, middle class, lower class people. I mean, I'm middle class, lower middle class. We're middle class now. Everyone supports Trump in that regard, guys. With social aspects, for sure, guys.
People who are not supposed to be here, enter the country legally, which is a crime. I'm going to keep talking about that. Are getting massive amounts of care, right? Free hotel room, 3 square meals a day, free medical care. And the black community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them.
Of course.
And they're taxpayers. They should have the first chance to get some of that help.
Yeah, that's facts. Like, if you work in America, your family's been there 300 years, like you said. Like, you should be getting that tax money rather than just people, arriving yesterday. It's like this crazy shit. Like,
but the mayor of Chicago was just, he's ignoring his own community. And I was up there just over a week ago, and I met with hundreds of people that were up there, and they're suffering because of the decisions to take care of these illegal aliens. I mean, I saw city transit buses parked running fuel as warming buses. How about taking care of the homeless people in that city? Let them get on a warming bus.
Of course.
But, they'd rather put these illegal aliens in a hotel room at $500 a night in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City and give them 3 meals a day and give them free medical care rather than take care of their own people. We got homeless vets. You've been to Washington, D.C. many times. Less than a mile from the Capitol, you got homeless vets living in tents. They don't have a free
super sad
hotel room. They don't get a hot shower. They don't get 3 squares a day.
It's so sad.
They don't get, they don't have access to free medical care.
Crazy.
But you got people who are in the country illegally get all that stuff.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and they also, this is a democracy, so we make decisions based on population size. And if you dilute the population, you dilute the political power of the people who are born here, very much including black people. So really, it's a takeover of our government, of our democratic system. And I just want to say it for the third time, it completely disenfranchises black people. And they're, black leaders in Congress who supposedly speak for black people, they sold them right out, actually, fact.
And the violence in these communities, and we're trying to address the violence. Mayor Adams finally gets it, I think, but we'll see what he actually does. But you got the mayor of Chicago. Chicago, the crime rate is extremely high in Chicago, right? We know the shootings are outrageous. And what we're saying to him, President Trump and myself have been very clear. We want to prioritize those illegally in the country that are public safety threats. That's what we want to target first because they're the most dangerous to our community. Public safety threats and national security threats. Why would any elected mayor of a city with a crime rate as high as they have not want public safety threats taken out of their communities, especially if they're here illegally? There's no sense, you would think the mayor of Chicago's number one responsibility is the safety of his community. Why not help me take those public safety threats out of the community? ICE agents aren't allowed to take a step into Cook County Jail, one of the biggest county jails in the country, where we used to get hundreds of illegal alien criminals out. We can't even step foot in that. They won't honor an ICE detainer. They much rather release that public safety threat back in the community to reoffend. And where is he likely to reoffend? The immigrant community where he lives.
But I don't understand. I mean, so when South Carolina tried this in 1861 at Fort Sumter, it kicked off a civil war. When Central High School tried this in 1957 in Little Rock, Arkansas, Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne. You can't allow states to ignore federal law. I'm trying not to use the F word here. So how is that not an act of insurrection? I don't understand. If a mayor or a governor says, we're going to ignore federal law and there's nothing you can't come into our facility, how about you get a SEAL team and go into the facility? I mean, like, how is that allowed? That is insurrection.
And
am I missing something? I thought this is the way the system worked.
And that's why I've been out there taking a lot of hate the last 3 weeks, saying, okay, well...
You're taking hate from the insurrectionists?
Yeah, which I'll wear as a badge of honor. I've been out there saying one thing to the mayor of Denver, right? To the mayor of Chicago, and to Governor Pritzker and the rest of them. You cannot help. You can choose not to help us. Stand aside, because we're going to do it. However, there's a line you can't cross. If you're going to impede what we're doing, that's a felony. If you're going to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE agents, USC 1324 III, that's a felony. And we will prosecute. Damn. We're done playing the game. There are federal statutes on the books, written by Congress, enacted by Congress, signed by a president, said this is a felony to do these things, and we're going to take that seriously. And we got a strong AG coming in, Pam Bondi. I think will back me up on this. You can help. You can sit aside and watch us do your work for you. Fine, you do it. But here's a message. No one's asking you to be immigration officers. What we're asking is give us access to the taxpayer-funded jail where you already locked somebody in a jail cell because apparently they're a public safety threat. When you're done with them, simply give them to us. And we're removed not only from the community, from the country. Because when you don't, and here's what they're going to get. They're going to get exactly what they don't want by taking this stance. You don't let me in jail to arrest a bad guy, where one agent can arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail where we know he don't have access to weapons. You're going to release him back in the community. You're endangering the community, the immigrant community, because most likely to reoffend in that community. You're endangering our officers, and you're endangering that alien because things could happen when you make an arrest in a public setting. We have access to who knows what weapons, right? So what's Tom Homan going to do? We're going to send more agents to community. We're going to find a guy. So that means I got to send a whole team to...
God damn it. All right, guys, I apologize. I have to end this stream just because the camera's about to heat up. The goddamn camera, because it's so hot in here, guys, it's like roasting in this room. I apologize. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think. I'm going to try live stream every single day. These live streams are going pretty good. Normally, this wouldn't happen. Okay, it's just that the camera is heating up. But yeah, I love you guys all, man. Tom Homan, would kind of give us the gist of it there. I think the last few parts of that whole interview were just basically talking about Mayor Eric Adams, how many deportations, illegal aliens coming from China and Russia. But we got most of it there, guys. We got most of what he was saying in that. So let me know your thoughts. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe.